Hello everyone, welcome to Rise of Patience. In this tutorial we are going to look at some early standard build orders and what to do once you reach classical age. I won't go in depth, but I'll tell you what you should be doing with a generic civilization like Inca so that you can age up in time and you don't fall behind in the early game. So stay tuned and watch out for this tutorial. The first step in the game is research, science, and civic. This is going to be staying the same for most of the civilizations, and I will probably make another video to tell you what are the exception nations. Then you want to send out multiple units for scouting. There's a scout and at least 3 or 4 villagers. I prefer 4 villagers because it just gives me more ruins and it gives me a better return on my investment. The moment you finish researching Civic 1, you want to get the city as soon as possible. The ideal time to get the first city is before 1 minute time mark. If you are delaying your city over 1 minute, then you can be very vulnerable to raids that come in the ancient age, possibly by Iroquois or Aztec players. So try to get that city as soon as possible. In Great Sahara map, there's going to be a ruin and a rare in every corner, and I mean every corner. So you should always send your villagers or scouts to different corners. For example, here I've sent my villager in the right corner. My scout already picked up the ruin from the top corner, and I'm moving one of my villagers to the bottom corner. Most of the time your opponent is going to take their ruins from the respective corners, but at least try to grab your side. The next step is to get the 5 farms as soon as possible. You want to be at 70 food income before you click up Commerce 1. Once you're at the 70 food income, next step is to get yourself to 70 wood income. Meanwhile you do all this, don't forget about lookout scouting. Use that lookout to scout every unexplored area in your territory and look for ruins or rare resources that you may have missed. Now click on commerce right away, and the first thing you want to do is get another farm. I would suggest not getting a market unless you have a food income of at least 80, because the market is going to give you wealth, which is fine. It's good to have wealth in the game, but food is much better. If you don't have food, you will age late and eventually you will be pushed into a defensive stance, which is horrible for your overall game. Once your market is complete, you want to get a caravan as soon as possible. You can even go for a nearby rare resource. For example, in this game I have spice next to my market, so instead of making a farm, I would rather use that spice for food. Once you have done all the researches, now it's time for military 1. You can skip military 1 if you want to age faster, or you can go military 1 and even go for an ancient raid. It's quite successful if your opponent is not expecting it. So even if you're Inca, which doesn't give you any advantages, and you want to raid your opponent, get a barracks somewhere in the front. You can raid your opponent, and you can also use this raid as an advantage to get your 3rd city there as soon as possible. The idea is to age or click up about 3:30 minutes. That's the ideal time. If you go for a barracks and military 1, of course it's going to take you 30 seconds extra to age, but in case your opponent is skipping military 1, this can really paralyze his economy because he is not expecting you to attack, nor is he ready for you. Next, click on the age button as soon as possible. You don't want to delay this because the new age brings in more resources like metal, knowledge, which should be collected as soon as possible. Your aging time is going to depend on 2 major factors. One is the number of ruins that you collect. Second is your civilization. Here are a list of civilizations that are super fast, and they can give you a 30-second boost if you use them right. And here are some other generic civilizations that may not help you, or probably slow, and a 330 would be just too good for those civilizations. A good tip, if you're not Inca, try to get a second market for that extra wealth, which is going to be useful. The first thing you should do apart from that is get a university and a mine the moment you age. The ideal amount of knowledge that you should have in age 2 is 30. If you have anything less than 30, you're going to be late for medieval age. If you have more than 30, it's never bad. Just make sure you don't spend too much wealth on scholars and do not have any wealth left for making military units. That can leave you quite vulnerable. From this point onwards, the game becomes too diverse. There are many ways you can go. You can either go for senator, get a republic government and play defensive for a while, or you can go military too, like I'm going here, make a stable and start raiding. The second objective for you is to try to get the third city as soon as possible, because the third city is going to be a benchmark of how fast you are in the game. If you are delayed for the third city, you're also going to be delayed for those 3 caravans that can be made after that, and you will have a low accumulation of wealth. The only civilization that is exempt from this because of the wealth is going to be Inca, of course, because they get tons of wealth from mines and they hardly depend on their caravans. So guys, that's it. Thanks for watching, and let me know what you want to see next for the tutorial and if I missed anything in this one. See you all. Bye bye.